came about, I guess, while we were overseas in the United Kingdom, in Manchester. It's sort of already been my plan to join the family business and move up here when I got home. And yeah, Matt and I were drinking our way around the Northern Quarter and got around it, sort of exploring a lot of new styles. And I think, at that point, the beer scene in the UK was a bit ahead of where we were, or at least what we had experienced in Melbourne. And we sort of got talking into doing a little bit of that ourselves.
Yeah, I think at the end of the weekend we were sort of to ourselves, how hard is it to make this stuff? Can we do that at the winery? And we're like, well, why not? Yeah, we've got all the licenses, we've got a lot of equipment, so just gave it a go. We got back from overseas in 2015 and pretty immediately started home brewing on some modified kegs, some old CUB modified kegs that we found on Gumtree. And we were just doing it in what was the winery was the cellar door back then. And so we were just brewing about 50 litres a week, and I was in Melbourne and Spencer was up here and he'd look after it during the week, before eventually at the end of 2016 we sort of started investing in the gear that we still use now. And we were about 900 litres for about a year and a half, 2 years on that system, and we're doing 4,000, 5,000 litres now on the gear that's here.
Yeah, and I think Dad had been very keen on the idea. He'd seen and gone to Margaret River, I think the year prior, and Margaret River, it's incredibly common for a winery and a brewery to sort of coexist over there, and it really adds. He saw that it really adds to the tourism experience. So yeah, in naming the brewery, we thought it'd be important to keep the kind of history of our property going. So the winery was formerly called Cornella Ridge Estate and rebranded to the Shiraz Republic because it was a much more fun and sort of jovial name that fit the business. And we thought, one of the key ideas that we liked about the breweries over in the United Kingdom, and that is that they were very regional sort of centred breweries. It was that was the idea of the tourism. Every town had its own, watering hole, and they actually made the beer sort of on site. So yeah, keeping Cornella in the name, the history of this district, was very key to keep that going as Cornella Brewery. We brew together, we make the beer together. There can be a bit of a division when Spencer's got a lot of winemaking stuff and I've moved away from helping with that as we've grown. Yeah, I think there's been a need to, at the very least, share the mental load a lot more. So I always joke when we're in front of customers and things like that I think normally I would be head winemaker and Matt would be head brewer, but in the reality of doing the job, it's all hands on deck most of the time. So yeah, when we're brewing, we're both in here doing everything, but at least we've got that sort of division at least of what we're stressing about, I suppose. So I might be in here actually brewing, but I'm stressing about beer stuff, and when Matt's out in the winery helping, he's probably stressing about beer stuff. And
yeah,
it's healthy,
Constantly sort of arguing about decisions that need to be made, and between the two of us, we come up with some pretty good ones in the end.
I think it's very healthy and very good for a business to be disagreeing with each other regularly. If you're not actually challenging each other's ideas, you head in very strange directions, and I think it's been a strength of not only the brewery, but I think the business in general, that as frustrating as it is to be having arguments with friends and family, it pushes you in the right direction.
So I think our biggest moving beers are really sort of designed to be really drinkable, modern, on trend. So nice, refreshing beers that move by pints over at the bar and by the slab online and over the bar. But we do have a lot of fun playing with other styles that if we have something we like or noticing trends, as we do a lot of market research, we can sort of react to it and have a go and make and use ingredients that we maybe normally wouldn't, or get in some exciting new hop.
Yeah, we're both really very passionate about, the beer community and beer trends, and obviously making beer. So yeah, it's quite interesting being, a regional brewery. Our market is as much our local farmers who will be, rusted onto a clean tasting lager as they are tourists coming to the region with, completely different palates that want something a bit more hoppy or a bit sour. And so We certainly have like an earmark sort of at least one brew a month that is sort of aimed at that sort of weird and wonderful market that is, you know, a lot of the stuff that, you know, we drink ourselves and you know, it's fun to experiment with. But then similarly, you know, we want to make sure that the sort of the favourites, you know, lagers and pale ales are consistent and already on tap, ready for people to arrive. You know, just as we are asking our customers to support us as a local business, we made a really sort of conscious effort to do the same in terms of our ingredients and our supply chain. So back in, I think it was 2018, we really had a reflection of that, you know, we were a craft product, farm gate, artisan, and we were buying malt from quite large distributors, and that just didn't really make sense for what we were doing and what we were about. So we signed up with a new malt house in Ballarat, Drew from House of Malt, and he actually opened the door with that smaller batch size to actually start using barley from our community.
Yeah, well, we were, you know, situated in between all these farmers that are growing grain and harvesting grain all around us, and sort of said we were getting our front paddock share farmed, and we still are. And it was canola at the time, and we thought, can we convince them to do some barley for us? So, you know, the barley's coming from our own paddock, and you know, we're taking it down to Drew.
Which has been, you know, a bit of fun, and you know, we've certainly got plans to take the farmers actually down to Ballarat and see how it all happens, and see what's going on with the grain that they're growing for us. And you know, we've noticed, I think the first time we got that malt back from Drew was just unreal. It was smelling the flavours the first time. Fresh. You know, it hadn't been kept in a container for, you know, 1 or 2 years. It was fresh. And I think that really comes across into the final product as well. The malt flavour we're getting is just, yeah, far superior to what we were doing previously. But, you know, we want to be small enough that we can continue to have fun, and you know, big enough to have good jobs for us, and you know,
have nice sort of manageable but dynamic jobs for ourselves, where we're not just doing some monotonous grind like churning out beer day after day, turning around a brew house maybe 3 or 4 times a day. But something that's nice, something that we can do each aspect of the business ourselves and choose the direction.